Hey there. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Wanted to jump on here today and talk about something that really is approaching epidemic proportions in the online marketing space that I see people doing that they shouldn't be. That's a big mistake that we just need to stop doing. That is, people are just copying other people's businesses and not putting any creativity, not any of their own spin on it. They're just like, oh, I like the way that person did it, so I'm going to do exactly what they did. If that's what you're doing, you need to stop. And that may not be a popular opinion. You may not like to hear it, but the fact is that if you're just copying someone else, you don't really have a business. You're not going to succeed in the long term. You can't do it. And I want to talk about that today. But again, before I jump in, if you don't know me, I'm Bobby Klink. I'm the lawyer and online entrepreneur behind Your Online Genius. I help other online entrepreneurs kind of, get the basic foundation set up for their business so they can just worry about building an amazing business and stop worrying about the other stuff. And I have seen this in a lot of different places where there's this real tendency of people to simply want to cut and paste. It's cookie cutter marketing. The most obvious example is, for example, recently someone brought to my attention a person who had literally copied one of the big influencers' website, like not word for word, but like the style was identical. I'm talking the same colors, the same pictures, the same backgrounds, the same everything for a completely different topic, a completely different space. But they were just like, ooh, this person did it good, so I'm just going to copy. And I saw that and I kind of laughed because I see that on a much smaller scale in a lot of other places. Like I'll hear people say, well, I want to do it just like that person does. And when they say, I want to do it, they mean everything. They mean, that person creates courses, so I'm going to create courses. That person uses webinars, so I'm going to use webinars. That person does their pop-ups exact this way, so I'm going to do my pop-ups exactly that way. That person does, they're like has 3 lead magnets, so I'm going to have 3 lead magnets. And so it's literally cookie cutter marketing. And that is not the way to succeed. Now, I'm not going to tell you to ignore what successful people are doing. That's also not a way to succeed in life. Realistically, you have to learn from a lot of different mentors. And when you first start out, I want to be very clear. You should adopt one product and base it on someone who knows what they're doing, follow their guidance on how to create that kind of product. And you should go with one launch style, whether it's webinar or challenge or video series or whatever it is. Find someone who does that and follow their style. There's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, if you want to have a successful business, you're going to have to step beyond one person. You're not going to be able to simply say, I'm going to take this one person's and apply it, without any kind of internal creativity. Because what you're going to find is your business is different. It just is. So my business, for example, is not based on courses. And so I can't simply replicate what someone with courses is doing, and have it be successful because my product is different. Now, that doesn't mean I can't learn from them. That doesn't mean I can't take the concepts. I do, because a lot of what, course creators like my friend Amy Porterfield does is brilliant. And I love learning about it and learning from it and taking lessons. But I have to recognize that I offer something different. I'm not offering information in a step-by-step, transition for people. What I offer people is legal peace of mind in the form of DIY legal templates, right? That's my offer to people. And so it's different. It's not the same as a course. It just is a different animal. And so I have to know that. And then I have to be willing, to transition, the lessons about how to launch, how to market, and all those things. But there's a bigger problem here, which is that if I was in this, I'm simply going to copy people's mentality, I would have ended up just doing courses. And the reason why is Amy Porterfield was my first true online mentor that I really followed her stuff and I did it. And there's a real tendency to take, if you're a hammer, you see nails everywhere. So if you're around course creators, you see courses everywhere. And there's nothing wrong with courses. I don't want to make it seem like I don't like courses. I like courses. For most people, courses are great. I think courses are probably the best first business model for most online entrepreneurs. I think when you're first trying to create kind of a scalable business, or a business that, takes you away from trading hours for dollars, courses online are probably the best way to go. But here's the thing. In my business, I tried courses. It didn't work. In my business, I talked to my ICA, and I recognized that ultimately what my customer wanted was, what is the quickest way you can get me legally protected? They didn't want to know it. I mean, quite honestly, most of the people, and if you're watching this, you may be in the same boat. You probably don't really care all that much about the legal details. You're just saying, give me the solution. And the solution largely is legal templates. And so that's what my customer wanted. Well, if I had not been someone who said, let me be open to different things, let me try different concepts, I never would have gone there, because I would have just been, it's a course, it's a course, it's a course. And I'll be honest, most of my competitors in the space, they offer individual templates and then a course, which has some templates, but they're not doing this kind of, hey, it's not really a course, it's just templates. That's what I offer people. I offer people a template library, an all access pass to all my templates where they can, get your legal peace of mind now and in the future. So, figuring that out was huge for me. But you have to do some work in your business and figure out what model is best for you. And it probably is going to mean you're going to take pieces from different people. And what that means is maybe you're going to say, well, I'm not exactly a course, but I can learn stuff about marketing from course creators. And you're going to have to say, okay, well, how do I message to my people? What is the big issue that my followers need? And when you get that, that's when you can actually truly have a real business. When you start to kind of synthesize the different stuff you're learning from different people, that's when you'll have a business that can really last over the long term. Because that's when you're not simply, relying upon what someone else did and just trying to copy them. And what I'll tell you is the other problem with copying people is, for the most part, when you hear a lot of these concepts come out, it becomes so cookie cutter that it's so predictable that it may not be the best route. And let me give you an example. So Russell Brunson of ClickFunnels really kind of originated this concept that he called the perfect webinar. And it's this webinar style that he uses, and he's been using it for, I don't even know how many years, probably a decade now or something. I'm not sure how long, but everybody who follows ClickFunnels now uses that same model. So if you're in the online entrepreneurship space, like, I can show up at a webinar and there's like a 50-50 chance I'm going to know literally exactly what's going to happen in every slide, because people are saying, I'm going to take the perfect webinar, I'm just going to use it. And again, there's some logic to that the perfect webinar model was based upon, kind of really thinking through these issues and a good way to deliver it. And so it works. But it might be that for you in your business, if you tweaked it a little bit, it would be better. Or maybe if you thought about, I want to do a webinar, but I'm going to do something before the webinar to get people in rather than going straight to a webinar. Or maybe, some people are doing challenges that go to a webinar. Or some people are saying, well, I'm going to do something different than a webinar, or I'm going to do a webinar and then add something else as an event around the webinar. And when people are doing these different things, again, sometimes it's going to flop. I'll be honest with you. I've tried many things that flopped. In fact, I literally recorded a podcast episode yesterday. I think it'll come out next week. I can't remember, either next week or the week after. That's basically all about, taking action. And I go through, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 8, I don't know how many things, like failures I had last year, because I tried things. Some worked, some didn't. But the key is that when you hit it out of the park with one of those things, it's going to work even better. And so you have to sometimes be willing to change things. And again, it might just mean, well, I'm going to use this person's kind of way of getting leads, and then I'm going to use this person's product idea, and then I'm going to use this person's idea about how to launch, and you put it all together and boom, you have a true business of your own, and you're thinking for yourself, and you've become an online entrepreneur, an online marketer, whatever you want to call it. That, to me, is, the shift that we all need to try to make. And again, I want to be very clear. You got to learn from the best when you start. And you got to, in some sense, learn how they do it their way, and then change it. the way another example I like to throw out that maybe will bring this home for you. I don't know about you, but every teacher I ever had growing up told me you cannot start a sentence with and, but, so, yet, any one of those conjunctions. And that's true, right? You can't in proper English, in proper grammar. But I'll tell you what, once you learn that rule and once you're good at it, the good writers, they start a lot of sentences with and, but, or, yet, because they know when to go away from convention, when to break the rules. That's what you need to be trying to get to. So don't just copy someone and say, I want to be a cookie cutter of person X, learn from them, follow their method, and then vamp a little bit. Be like a jazz musician who there's a little bit of, trying things out along the way, see what works, test it out. And then, what works, keep it, what doesn't, get rid of it. So that's the way that I think in the long term, you have to view things to be successful as an entrepreneur. That's some of the things that, maybe I've just always been someone who does these things. Maybe it's because I'm a rebel. I don't like following any one person. But I think if you can adapt to that and get to the point that after, say, you launch one way using a person's method, you say, okay, well, let me try something a little bit different, maybe tweak this little thing over here. That's when you're going to get to be successful in the long term. So that's my call to action to you today. Be thinking about, I don't want to be a clone of someone else. I want my own business. I'm going to take the best parts I can get from everybody else, but I'm going to create my own business that has my own personality, that has my own spin, and that takes the best from all the different people I'm learning from. So if you do that, you will be in good shape. Now, if you haven't yet, I'd love for you to join me in my free online community, the Online Genius Community. It's a free Facebook group. We talk about these things. We talk about the podcast. We can have, questions. If you have questions for me and I'm answered, you can talk about the legal stuff if you want to talk about that. We can talk about the marketing stuff if you want to talk about that. Heck, if you just want to ask me about what beer I'm drinking right then, I'm happy to talk about that too. But I'd love for you to join me. It's kind of a way for us to go back and forth and really engage with each other. You can do that. There's a link in the description, or just go to youronlinegenius.com/community and you can join that group. And Veronica, I see that you're on here live. I'm glad you've been making some of these live, and I like that you like the message. I know you've probably heard me enough to know that this is something I would say, and you would understand when I say it's part of the more cowbell movement. But at any rate, everyone, I'd love for you to join me in the community. Again, go to youronlinegenius.com/community. We can chat there. We can continue the communication, and we can do all of these other things to really kind of start, talking about what you can do. How can you apply these concepts? How can you grow your business? How can you stop having a job and start having a business? So that's it for now. I'll be back here on Wednesday with something a little bit more about the legal stuff. And then I'll be back here on Friday again at the same time with a mindset issue that I'm seeing a lot of entrepreneurs deal with. So that's it. Have a great week.